You have somewhere around $500,000 saved, and somewhere in the back of your mind sits the number $1 million. The difference between those two is not a lifestyle. It is one number, and you have probably never looked at it. Say your savings have to produce $20,000 a year on top of whatever Social Security pays you. Out of $500,000, that is a 4% withdrawal. Out of $1 million, same life, same $20,000, it is 2%. Same life, half the rate. So what is that extra room actually buying you? And is there a chance you already have enough of it? In a normal year, that gap does nothing at all. You would not notice it, and neither would anyone else. Then the market drops 20%, or the roof goes, and that one number decides whether you write a check or rewrite your retirement. The easy answer is that $1 million retirement simply spends more. Bigger trips, better restaurants, a newer car every few years. That is a fair guess, and it is what the math seems to promise. Double the money, double the life. It mostly does not work that way, and the spending data says why. The Bureau of Labor Statistics actually tracks this. According to their latest numbers, households headed by someone 65 or older spent about $61,000 in 2024, and it keeps falling with age. Late 50s and early 60s average about $85,000. By 75 and over, it is down to $56,000. And wanting the bigger number was never greed. Every piece of advice you were handed for 30 years pointed at a bigger balance. Nobody ever told you what the balance was for. Swap in your own numbers as we go. Whether you are at $400,000 or $700,000, the math behaves the same, and the answer at the end is yours, not mine. Before the numbers, one piece of context. Based on the Federal Reserve's most recent survey of consumer finances, the median retirement account balance for households aged 65 to 74 is $200,000. At $500,000, you are already holding 2.5 times what the typical household your age has saved. You are not behind. You are ahead of most of them. Say you are 65, retired last spring, and the mortgage is gone. You spend about $68,000 a year. That is roughly $5,700 a month, covering property taxes, insurance, groceries, Medicare premiums, the car, and enough for a real vacation. Social Security brings in about $48,000 a year between the two of you. That money shows up whether the market cooperates or not. Now do the subtraction that actually decides a retirement. Spending of $68,000 minus Social Security of $48,000 leaves $20,000 a year that has to come out of savings. Your portfolio has one assignment, not to be large, to produce $20,000 a year. 4 doors down live Ann and David. Same age, same house, same paid-off mortgage, same life from the sidewalk. Their accounts hold $1 million. Their Social Security matches yours because it is calculated from lifetime earnings, not savings. So does their spending. So their portfolio has the identical job, $20,000 a year. And there are the two numbers from the top. Your $20,000 out of $500,000 is 4%. Their $20,000 out of $1 million is 2%. Same street, same withdrawal, and the only thing that changed was the denominator. A percentage on its own means nothing. It only becomes useful once you set it beside the line it is supposed to stay under. The reason you have probably never done that is that you met this number as a permission slip. The 4% rule arrived in your life as a rule about how much you are allowed to spend. It is really a rule about how close to the edge you are standing, and the edge moves. Every year, Morningstar publishes an estimate of the highest withdrawal rate a new retiree can start with and still expect the money to last 30 years. In their latest report, for 2026, that figure is 3.9%, using a balanced portfolio and a 90% success rate. Not a law, not a guarantee, but the closest thing this field has to a line on the floor. Hold your 4% up against it. You are not reckless and not overspending. You are sitting almost exactly on the line the research draws. Ann and David are at 2%, which is about half the line. Now get out of percentages entirely. Your account has to earn 4% a year just to stay where it is. Theirs has to earn 2%. One of those is what a balanced portfolio does in a decent year. The other is what it does in a bad one. You both pass the test. You pass with nothing to spare, which is a completely different position even though the report card looks the same. In a calm year, none of this is visible. It stays invisible until the year that is not calm. Go back through S&P 500 history, and since 1950, the American market has been through roughly 12 bear markets, meaning declines of 20% or more. A balanced portfolio does not take the full hit, but giving up about 20% in a rough stretch is ordinary. Retire at 65, live to 90, and plan on several. So take one, in year 2. Your $500,000 becomes $400,000. Their $1 million becomes $800,000. Identical loss, identical timing, and neither household did a single thing wrong. Now, run the withdrawal again because the bills did not care. You both still need $20,000. Out of $400,000, that $20,000 is 5%. Out of $800,000, it is 2.5%. For Anne and David, that is a rounding error. They are still nowhere near the line, and nothing about their year has to change. For you, it changes everything. You have gone from sitting on the line to standing past it, above every published safe rate. You did not overspend a dollar. The market did that to you. Here is what that feels like in January. The statement arrives, the account is down $100,000, and the withdrawal happens anyway. In a working year, you wait a bad market out. In retirement, you sell into it for groceries. That is the first thing the second $500,000 was buying, and you only see it when something tests it. It was never buying a better vacation. It was buying the ability to sit still. Once you have crossed the line, you have to do something about it, and the somethings are all made of real life. You can cut discretionary spending, which is the vacation, the restaurants, the gifts to the grandchildren. You can cut essentials, which is much harder and has a hard floor underneath it somewhere. One of you can go back to work again at 66. You can sell the house and move somewhere a good deal less expensive. Or you can keep spending as planned and accept a higher chance of running short at 88. So that is the real inventory of what a retirement balance buys. Not what you get to purchase, what you would be forced to give up when a year goes badly. Everyone carries a cost that never shows up in a spreadsheet. Going back to work at 66 is not a budget item. It is the retirement you already announced to everyone you know. Selling the house is not a transaction. It is the driveway your grandchildren know. And the moves compound because everyone you use comes off the list for good. Cut the vacation this year, and you cannot cut it again next year. Go back at 66, and you probably cannot at 76. This is not a renewable resource. It is a fixed, limited number of times you can absorb something going wrong. Anne and David own that identical list. They just never have to open it, so 10 years from now, every option on it is still sitting there unused. Now add the part almost every retirement projection leaves out. Household costs do not arrive in a smooth yearly stream. They arrive in lumps instead. Going by national contractor cost estimates, a roof replacement runs around $10,000, and a full heating and cooling system usually lands between $8,000 and $15,000. A vehicle is its own number. None are emergencies, and after 65 they cluster because the roof and furnace and car were all bought within a few years of each other. Nothing in a house has ever broken at a convenient time. Now take $45,000 of that, spread across 3 years, arriving right after that bad market. Your neighbors write the checks without discussion. Their $800,000 becomes $755,000, and their withdrawal moves to about 2.6%. For them, the roof was a purchase. It changed nothing. Your $400,000 becomes $355,000. Your same $20,000 is now 5.6%. For you, the roof was not a purchase. It was a plan revision. You already know what a plan revision looks like. You get the estimate. You bring it to the kitchen table. The conversation that follows is not about the roof. It is about whether the trip in September still happens. You pay for the roof. The trip stops being discussed. Nobody calls it a crisis, and nobody writes it down. It is simply the year the plan got smaller. 4 doors down, the very same estimate arrived, got paid, and was forgotten by dinner. Now watch the scoreboard move back your way, because the comparison gets fairer than it looked. Trim $6,000 a year off the discretionary side, which is $500 a month. That was never groceries or insurance. It was the September trip and the restaurants, which is exactly the money that should flex. Your gap drops from $20,000 to $14,000, and out of $355,000, that comes to 3.9%. You are back under the safe line. One decision, $500 a month, and the household that looked like it was in trouble is not in trouble. That is the honest verdict on $500,000. It works. It works conditionally. Now the part that changes the answer, because households land on both sides of it. Go back to the subtraction that started it. Every number since came from that $20,000 gap. Look at whether your dependable income already covers your essential spending. If Social Security and a pension together handle the taxes, the insurance, and the groceries, then your savings are not carrying your survival. They are carrying your travel. A bad market cuts a trip. It does not reorganize your life. If that is you, you are close to secure at $500,000, and the second $500,000 buys comfort and whatever you leave behind. Run it the other direction, and the answer flips. If your gap is $40,000 instead of $20,000, then $500,000 is not sitting at 4%. It is sitting at 8%, and no amount of flexibility repairs that. For that household, the extra money is not a cushion, it is the plan. And one variable moves the line for everyone. Morningstar ran that research a second way, adding the possibility of a long-term care event later on. That one addition drops the safe rate from 3.9% to 3.5%. Sit with it, because it does not move you, it moves the line. At 4%, you were over it before the market did anything. So here is the test, and you can run it on the back of an envelope tonight. Write down what your household actually spends in a year. Subtract everything that arrives, whether or not the market cooperates. Social Security, a pension, an annuity. What is left over is your gap. That figure is the only job your savings actually has. Divide the gap by your balance. That is your real withdrawal rate, and it tells you more than the balance ever will. Now cut your balance by 20% and divide it again. That second number is the one that matters, because that is the version of you a bad year creates. If your stressed number lands under about 4%, more money mostly buys you comfort and options. If it lands well above, more money is buying you capability, and it is worth working for. If it lands close, the useful question is no longer, how do I get to $1 million? It is how much of my spending can flex, and how quickly. Then do the step people skip, the one that answers the title. Write down what you would have to do if that stressed year showed up. Cancel the trips, go back to work, sell the house, ask your children, put every one of them on paper. Count it. That count is your real difference, and it is the only number here you can change without earning a dollar. Now go back to that number in the back of your mind. 10 years from now, nobody walking past could tell your house from theirs. Same lawn, same car, same Tuesday at the store. The two retirements look identical, and in most years, they are. What the second $500,000 buys is not a bigger life. It is a shorter list. Ann and David got the same bad market, the same roof, and the same furnace you did. They just had fewer things they were forced to do about any of it. And it cuts both ways. Getting from $500,000 to $1 million takes years, and those years come out of the healthy end of retirement, which is the one thing no balance buys back. So the difference most people miss is not a lifestyle. It is a list. Your balance tells you what you have. Your list tells you what you would have to give up, and if your gap is small enough, $500,000 and $1 million hand you nearly the same one. If that gave you a cleaner way to look at your own number, consider subscribing to Benji Knows Money. We take retirement math and turn it into decisions you can actually make. I will see you in the next one.